Tonight on Cronkite News, the LPGA is celebrating an important milestone this year. See how the tour's stop in Phoenix highlighted its legacy.
Plus, Cam Scadaboo is officially gone and his replacement remains in question. Find out who's in the running to take his place in the Sun Devil backfield.
And a new warning today from Arizona's governor, who says the upcoming fire season could be intense. Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Sebastian Mandaka.
And I'm Max Cepeda. Thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with the Phoenix Suns, who took on the Houston Rockets last night. And Sebastian, the team's third consecutive loss was ugly in more ways than one.
That's right, Max. The Suns, who are in the playoff hunt, dropped last night's game 148-109, losing by a whopping 39 points. But that wasn't the only devastating blow they suffered, as superstar Kevin Durant had to leave the game early with a scary ankle injury. And we now know that Durant is expected to be out at least 1 week, missing the team's upcoming 3-game road trip, which makes the Suns' playoff chances look even slimmer now, as they currently sit outside the play-in tournament and have the toughest remaining schedule in the NBA.
Meanwhile, the Valley Suns have clinched a playoff spot in the Western Conference in their inaugural season in the NBA's G League after concluding their regular season last week. The Valley Suns clinched their spot with a victory over the Texas Legends at Mullet Arena, winning 137-104. Paul Watson made 6 shots from beyond the arc in just the first half alone, along with outstanding offense from Jaden Shackelford, who scored a game-high 27 points, along with two-way player Ty Washington, who had 25 points. As for the postseason, head coach John Little knows what his team has to do in order to advance.
It's one game, so it's single elimination. We just got to be great that game. We got to compete on every possession, and then, let the chips fall wherever they fall.
Now, the Valley Suns will be the 5th seed in the West and will travel to California to take on the 4th seed Santa Cruz Warriors tomorrow night.
The LPGA has been a trailblazing league in women's sports since it was first founded all the way back in 1950. Our Max Williams was out at the Ford Championship at Whirlwind Golf Club this past weekend to see how the tour is celebrating in the Valley.
The LPGA Ford Championship was back for another weekend in Arizona, and the tour is celebrating its 75th anniversary all year long. And the Valley is part of that history.
The LPGA has actually been in the Arizona market for the last 50 years. A massive pioneer and a founder, Marilyn Smith, is a staple here. Being able to tie not only this event, but also the 75th anniversary back to her, it's really rewarding.
23-time LPGA tournament winner Lydia Ko is in the LPGA Hall of Fame, a title she shares with Smith and many of the tour's founders.
Thanks to our 13 founders, I have the opportunity to live my dream. It's a huge honor. It's an exciting time for women's sports and especially women's golf.
And the 1950 to 2025 lifespan of the tour makes it the longest running pro women's sports league in the world.
I think it just set a tone for women's sports competitively. We've reached a lot of parts of the world, Asia to Europe, and I think that's pretty special.
And the LPGA is looking for unique ways to celebrate, including the debut of the 75th anniversary mobile experience for fans here at the Ford Championship.
So we just line everything up, sometimes tape it down, just make sure it's straight, and one after the other, just kind of keep them rolling. How's that look?
That's Andrew Ansel walking me through the process at the Hat Bar, where fans could pick out unique LPGA patches to remember their experience and watch as they're pressed right onto their hat. The LPGA hopes to engage with fans in similar ways all season long as the tour continues to grow in popularity. In Chandler, Max Williams, Cronkite News.
The next stop for the tour will be in Las Vegas this weekend at the T-Mobile Match Play Tournament.
And Arizona State football enters its 2nd week of spring camp tomorrow, with several new transfers and recruits trying to build a name for themselves. But running back Cam Scadaboo's absence still looms heavy over the Kalchikawa practice fields. Last season, Scadaboo finished 2nd in the Big 12 with 1,711 rushing yards and 21 rushing touchdowns. He was also named to the All-Big 12 first team and received an honorable mention for Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. Scadaboo is hoping to hear his name called in this year's NFL Draft after a standout performance at the NFL Combine earlier this month. And with Scadaboo likely NFL bound, ASU has a glaring problem in front of them. Who is going to replace number 4 in maroon and gold? Cronkite News reporter Quentin Presley was in Tempe to find out more about the backfield situation for the Sun Devils.
Former Arizona State dominant running back Cam Scadaboo's presence is going to be dearly missed within the Arizona State program. Coach Reynolds and Iguano talk about what they're going to miss the most and how they're going to fill that void.
We like the intensity and toughness that Scat brought. We really love the trash talk. We're going to miss the trash talk because he really got us out of sorts sometimes talking trash to Clayton and Prince and some of those guys.
Scadaboo tore up the Big 12 last season, rushing for over 1,700 yards, scoring 25 total touchdowns, and finishing 5th in Heisman Trophy voting. Coach Iguano, who's coached talented backs in the past, has a next man up mentality.
The same conversation is, how was I going to replace Eno Benjamin? How was I going to replace Rashad White? How was I going to replace Valade? Now how do I replace Cam? Somebody always steps up to take their place.
From Kanye Udo, who just came through the transfer portal, to the backup backs from last year, there's a large pool of talent that can take the spot. There is one certainty, and it's that it's nobody's spot yet.
There's not one guy here that showed up here and I said, you're the starting running back. There's a guy that said there's an open starting running back job. Well, we've got a bunch of other good running backs to compete with. So there's not one person that's on this field that's new, that was promised they were going to start, told they were going to start. They were just told there's an opportunity. It's on you to win it.
But they all have the opportunity to win it this spring. In Tempe, Quentin Presley, Cronkite News.
Meanwhile, a big weekend for the Arizona Diamondbacks, who opened their season with a 4-game series against the Chicago Cubs. The teams would split the opening weekend at 2 apiece in a couple high-scoring affairs, with none more exciting than Sunday's game, where the Diamondbacks fell behind early, down 6-2 late. Arizona needed a miraculous comeback, and they got it. The Diamondbacks sent 12 batters to the plate in the bottom of the 8th, scoring 8 runs to secure a 10-6 victory. A pitcher even got in on the action, with Ryan Nelson having an RBI single. He later came around and scored the run himself. Overall, the bats were working for the Diamondbacks throughout this weekend, as they scored 4 or more runs in each contest and racked up 46 total hits. Newcomer Josh Naylor and Ketel Marte led the charge with 6 hits apiece, while Eugenio Suarez brought the power, hitting 4 home runs in the series.
And now looking ahead to tomorrow, where Arizona will travel to New York to take on the Yankees. And New York grabbed all the headlines over the weekend, putting up 36 runs in 3 games, after many of their players in the lineup used what they call a torpedo bat. This new bat has the barrel redistributed from the end of the bat to more of the middle, and will be up to Corbin Burns in his D-backs debut and the rest of the Snake pitching staff to slow down this explosive offense.
Coming up next, a senior at LA Anthem South is drawing a lot of attention for his achievements in track and field.
That's absolutely right, Sebastian. He's making a name for himself as one of the best high school track athletes in the nation.
And I was just thanking God at that moment, like, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to jump.
When we come back, we'll tell you all about what's next for him as he gets ready to complete his senior season. And also, it was a beautiful weekend here in the Valley, so what can we expect to start this week? Your full forecast is next.
People have always had trouble trying to put me into a box. A professor suit and tie is just not me. Without the ocean, I don't know what I would do. You know, the ocean's always been there for me. As Hawaiian people, we believe that the coral is the first living being to come out of the darkness. It's the foundation of our entire lifestyle, and that's what my research is about. What we do is we take photographs of the reef over long periods of time to create models that can tell us what the planet is doing. If we go deaf to what the Earth is telling us, then we'll never be able to live in harmony. If I can get my students excited about protecting the ocean, then they're the ones who are gonna really make the difference. I hope my students realize that I'm not trying to prepare them for something in the distant future. Their time is now at Arizona State University.
A high school track athlete is making a big name for himself at LA Anthem South in Florence. Cronkite News reporter Sammy Kaloff has more about this young triple jumper.
Thanks, guys. Quickly establishing himself in the triple jump, Trace White is the #1 ranked triple jumper in the country who is committed to Florida State University on a full ride scholarship. I took a trip down to Florence to find out more about White's extraordinary journey.
Come on, Trace.
Yes! This moment put Trace White's career on the map. Jumping 50 feet across the sand elevated White to the #1 spot in the country for the high school boys triple jump.
When I broke that record, it was a lot, you know, because I didn't expect to jump a 50-foot personal best at all at that time. And I was just thanking God at that moment, like, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to jump.
The last 8 months of White's life has propelled him into uncharted territory. The ALA Anthem South star is now committed on a D1 full-ride scholarship to Florida State University. But White didn't grow up playing sports. He started his track career in high school.
What got me interested was definitely my parents. We had a talk one day about doing sports or just getting outside of the house.
The talk with his parents changed everything for the FSU commit.
High school, that's when I got more in track. And just from my parents just pushing me to do something.
White's leadership and perseverance at ALA Anthem South has inspired everyone around him. From his teammates to the support staff, the triple jump specialist has created an unprecedented impact on his community just an hour away from Phoenix.
It's a big step, NCAA Division I college, just going to the next level, and he's ready for it, so it's not really a surprise.
I think he's influenced me to just focus on my technique, especially that too. I think it sets a bar for future athletes later on in the school.
White is not only setting a good example at school, but also at home for the rest of his loved ones. He will be the first in his family to attend college full-time.
I'm also showing them, hey, you got competition now when you grow up. Be like, I want to be better than my uncle.
Trace White will graduate from ALA Anthem South this spring. He will continue to make his family and friends proud as he looks forward to his next chapter at Florida State. Even though he will be all the way across the country, no distance is too big to overcome and achieve. In the Cronkite newsroom, I'm Sammy Califf. Back to you guys at the desk.
And the stage is set in San Antonio as it will be the center of the college basketball world as 4 #1 seeds collide in a historic Final Four. As you probably heard it will be all chalk along the Riverwalk as for the second time ever, it's all #1 seeds battling it out for the national championship. Phoenix native Todd Golden will have his Florida Gators ready for an SEC rematch with Auburn, while Duke and Houston battle in a powerhouse showdown in semifinal #2.
Now from one basketball attorney to another, Arizona State will play in the first round of the College Basketball Crown Tournament against Nebraska tonight. They will be short-handed again as Jaden Quains is still injured and Jason Sanin is transferring to St. John's.
And meanwhile, in the pool, Son of a Men's Swim and Dive just wrapped up their season as they finished 6th on the leaderboard at Nationals while taking home 3 individual top 8 finishes. Johnny Kulo came in at 6th in the 100 free, and Ilya Karoun picked up bronze in the 200 fly. The 400 free relay was the highlight of the meet for the Sun Devils, with ASU setting a Big 12 and school record, finishing in 2nd place.
Well, Max, it's been a bit too chilly for a dip in the pool, wouldn't you say?
I would say so, too. But a cool down is headed the Valley's way, and our Mahir Sinhasan joins us now for the Cronkite Weather Center with more of what we can expect to start off your week. Mahir?
Yeah, that's right, Max. Temperatures are definitely cooler, definitely windy outside as well, and that's what we're going to take a look at here on our evening planner. Again, 10 o'clock tonight, 75 degrees, 10-mile-per-hour winds. You can see here 81 degrees right now, but 15-mile-per-hour winds. Definitely breezy overall as we take a look at our low temperatures going into tonight. Phoenix, 53 degrees, but still a lot of cities that are below freezing. Take a look up here. Flagstaff, 20. Grand Canyon, 19. Holbrook out here, 29 degrees. As we take take a look at our highs into Tuesday. Again, cool up north, relatively warm down south as we take a look at the southeast. Tucson over here, 76. Tombstone, 73. Douglas out here, 77. One of the warmest temperatures here in the valley, and back here in the valley, it will be 75 degrees. Here's your 8-day forecast in the greater Phoenix area. Again, 70s overall. You can also see here 64 on Wednesday, 70 on Thursday. Wind gusts getting up to 20 miles per hour during that time. So be sure to have a thin coat if you leave the house during that stretch. After that, though, it gets much warmer. You can take a look at Saturday, 79 degrees, mostly sunny, heading all the way to Monday where it'll be 85 degrees. Tuesday, sunny, 90 degrees your high, 60 degrees your low. That will be back in pool weather. This is Mihir Hassan from the Cronkite News Weather Center. Back to you.
Thank you, Mihir. Coming up next, a look at the news headlines from across the nation and right here in the Valley, including a closer look at medical testing that can sometimes break the bank.
Absolutely, and find out how a new local program is helping curb the cost.
Black, white, other people of color, and people that qualify need to have access to important testing.
We'll have more on how this program is helping low-income families after the break.
As a teacher, you just want to reach people. You want to make a difference. You want to help them. I have an opportunity to do something I never imagined I would be able to do. Go out and build the best biology class the world has ever seen. When you go into Dreamscape Learn, you put on a set of goggles and you can go anywhere. You can be anyone and do anything. The thing about Arizona State University is they're always thinking about what's next. We can create virtual reality experiences so that you can learn by exploring in a virtual world the way that scientists explore in the real world. And kids can feel that. All these emotions are what help the brain encode information. When I see a student come out of VR, the look on their face is nothing like I've ever seen when I finish a lecture. They look so happy to be there. In that moment, you know that you've reached them.
Welcome back. I'm Leah Phillips with your news headlines. As the weather's heating up, Arizonans and others across the West are getting ready for wildland fires. Governor Katie Hobbs held a press conference today and address this issue. Cronkite News reporter Alyssa Firestone is currently in downtown Phoenix with more information on what the state is doing to prepare.
The governor says we might be at risk for what may be an intense fire season. The dry weather and the drought conditions put many across the state at risk. Officials are doing what we can do next to prepare. The recent wildfires in California are a reminder of the damage they can cause.
We do have the potential for high fire activity across most of the state this year. There's areas across the state that have been untouched by fire, so we could see potential for fire in those areas as well.
Governor Hobbs says the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management has been making efforts to stop future fires.
The department has been conducting interagency trainings with local districts and our federal partners, and I know that those partnerships are really strong, which is really critical as we head into the season, and the prevention campaign.
Also critical are staffing levels. The department's state forester notes that the amount of funds and staffing levels are steady for now.
We have not experienced any cuts to already awarded grants, whether they're for making resources available to our partners that include local fire districts or monies that we use to work with our federal partners.
Still, the state wants to make sure residents are aware of fire prevention.
Target shooting and fireworks, not things that are allowed on state lands.
One of the things that we preach to people is to create defensible space around their properties, and that can be a buffer between your home and a catastrophic wildfire. So basic yard maintenance, trimming back any trees that may be hanging over the roof, removing any debris on the roof.
Another tip is dragging chains on vehicles and trucks, as that can cause sparks on the freeways. In Phoenix, Alyssa Firestone, Cronkite News.
Thanks, Alyssa, for bringing us that story. And Adelita Grijalva has announced she will be running for Arizona's 7th Congressional District. The seat was previously held by her late father, U.S. Representative Raul Grijalva. She was first elected to public office back in 2002 and served as part of the Tucson Unified School District Governing Board. She currently serves on the Pima County Board of Supervisors, and the campaign launch sets up the race for the vacated seat between former State Representative Danielle Hernandez and Adelita Grijalva. The primary is set for July 15th, with the general election happening on September 23rd. And now on to Arizona roads, where drivers of electric vehicles could be seeing a big change on Phoenix freeways this fall. The Federal Highway Administration announced that alternative fuel vehicles with single occupants will no longer have access to the HOV lanes. This is only if Congress does not extend the 2005 federal exemption law. The new changes, if put into effect, will take place on September 30th of this year. Many people don't realize just how important medical testing is and how costs can add up for families. Cronkite News reporter Alana Goodman tells us how a local lab is helping those low-income families.
It's a straightforward process that detects illnesses early. It begins with a needle and a test tube. Technicians draw blood and analyze it in a lab. In Arizona, 12.4% of the population lives in poverty according to the U.S. Census. Lab tests can cost anywhere from $20 to $1,660 or even more. Sonora Quest offers a program for those who cannot afford testing.
We recognize that all people in Arizona, Black, white, other people of color, and people that qualify need to have access to important testing. And so Sonora Quest developed the financial assistance program to make sure that all patients in all communities have access to testing.
A needle poke may not be easy for everyone, but what's contained in this tiny test tube can make a difference for diagnosing and curing a disease. Costs for lab tests can be prohibitive for some patients. A sliding scale program is offered for patients who qualify based on the federal income poverty guidelines, which is earning less than about $15,000 a year for a single person household or around $32,000 for a family of 4. However, people are encouraged to apply and explain their situation.
If you have a bill, whether you have insurance or not, if you have a bill, you may be able to qualify for financial assistance.
Early testing significantly improves treatment outcomes and survival rates.
We work in these communities, we interact with these people. When you have those kind of proximities, things like fancy mission statements and vision statements, they're more than just words on a piece of paper. They actually become integral in the culture of the company and in the decisions that we make every day. And one of our mission statement is to take care of the people of Arizona, and that's more than just running lab tests.
Health experts emphasize the importance of regular lab tests, especially for older adults, to maintain good health. Patients can apply for financial assistance through Sonora Quest by visiting sonoraquest.com. In Phoenix, Alana Goodman, Cronkite News.
In Arizona, 28.7% of the residents had incomes below 200% of the federal poverty level back in 2023. This makes the financial assistance program beneficial for the low-income patients here in the Valley. And taking a look at news around the nation, Goldman Sachs is warning of a looming recession. The investment firm says the risk of the U.S. economy experiencing a recession is growing due to President Donald Trump's trade wars. These ongoing wars are threatening to stunt growth, increase unemployment, and inflation. However, the company still expects the economy to avoid a downturn. And in the ongoing trade war, 25% auto tariffs ordered by the president are set to start on Thursday. And Trump says he will impose even more tariffs on Wednesday. The president says the new tariffs will include, quote, all countries, end quote, and not just those whom the U.S. has a trade deficit. And that's all for your news headlines. I'm Leah Phillips. Back to Sebastian and Max.
Thank you, Leah. Coming up next, there's a new national champion representing the University of Arizona.
That's right, Sebastian, and the Wildcats continue to show why they run State 48 when it comes to basketball. After the break, we'll tell you all about what went down this weekend at the National Wheelchair Basketball Association Championship.
I grew up in a small border town. and water was really important to us. Without enough water, we can't farm, we can't eat, we can't live. And the way we're doing it right now, straight up doesn't have a future. I went to ASU because this is a place where you solve problems. With vertical farming, we can grow the same amount of food with 95% less water than traditional farming. The work I'm doing at ASU is changing the way I look at the world.
The scientists and engineers that support the next mission to Mars could be in this class.
Getting a degree at ASU is a journey that can take you anywhere. Into a world of groundbreaking technology and renowned award-winning faculty. Professors who help you to impact the world. Whether you're on campus or at home, becoming your best starts with learning from the best.
When I was younger, there were no engineers around me. So I had to become my own role model. At ASU, I wasn't just learning to be an engineer. I was actually engineering. And graduating, I already had real-world jobs lined up. Before ASU, my goal was to be a strong, confident woman. And when I left, I became a strong, confident engineer.
The NCAA tournament is still ongoing, but the March Madness extends to other postseason journeys.
Absolutely. And while Arizona men's basketball may have been knocked out of the NCAA tournament already, its wheelchair basketball team had much better luck. Over the weekend, the #1 seeded Wildcats took down UT Arlington to win the NWBA Intercollegiate Men's National Championship. It was the team's third straight trip to the final game, but the first time bringing home the trophy. And that's it for tonight's edition of Cronkite News. I'm Max Cepeda.
And I'm Sebastian Mandaka. Thank you for joining us. And to see top Arizona stories anytime, log on to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.